My name is Deborah Scott. I am here with Atlanta Voice, and we are here to remind you to voice your vote. So I am the CEO of Georgia STANDUP, and we're a think and act tank for working communities, and we have been around for almost 20 years. So we have Stand Up, which is our policy and working families part of our organization. Then we have Trade Up and Build Up, which we deal with construction jobs, and We Show Up, which deals with movie industry jobs. And then we have We Vote, We Win, which is our C4, where we do a lot of our political activity.
I understand that you travel frequently to fight against issues. Can you tell me some of the work that you're doing throughout the state of Georgia?
Great. So we fight for working communities, and particularly Black and brown people, and then we fight against oppression. So lately we've had to travel to Washington, one, to celebrate, and we just celebrated Katanji Brown Jackson's nomination and her confirmation. But also we have been going up to protest and to demonstrate around the voter suppression that's happening here in Georgia. So we've had, I've had 2 arrests up at the state capitol as a demonstration, civil disobedience demonstration around the Voting Rights Act. We want the John Lewis Voting Rights Act passed immediately. So we've been intensely advocating for that for the last 6 months or so, and then also trying to make sure that we share that Black girl joy about Katanji Brown Jackson. So those are the reasons we've been going back and forth to DC, as well as the infrastructure bill and Build Back Better. One of the things that we want to make sure is that these resources that are being let out of DC actually make their way to Georgia, and that makes their way to communities that really need them. So as we're advocating, we're not just advocating for a pot of money to come to Georgia, but we want that there to be an equity mix in there, and that for them to go to help Black communities.
When Georgia Stand Up publicly supported Katanji Brown Jackson, can you please share how you worked behind the scenes to make others support her as well?
Yeah, so it's a moment of Black girl joy when Black women from all across the country came together and said it is time for a Black woman as a Supreme Court justice. So there were a lot of conversations even before the campaigns happened that if the nominees were selected, that there would be a push for a Black woman. So once the election happened, we were all very intense about making sure that those promises were made. We did not know we would have this opportunity so soon, but as soon as it hit, we reminded the president of his promise. And it was so incredible because we had Black women from all of the country calling, emailing, going to show up to support her, standing outside the Supreme Court. We've had a number of rallies in front of the Supreme Court. It was such a wonderful thing to witness her being basically honored at the White House. We had a great luncheon with a lot of leaders afterwards. But really, our job is to keep informing people on why judges are important, and how even in the election that's coming up on March 24th, that we need to vote the entire ballot and how those judges really affect us. So whether it's the Supreme Court and understanding that they're going to make decisions for a lifetime and that we need to have representation there, down to the judges locally that make decisions about our lives, that makes decisions about criminal justice reform, make decisions about what happens to our Black and brown men when they go to prison, or if they even should go to prison. So we just want to remind people that you vote the entire ballot and vote your values, vote your pocketbook issues, vote your community issues. And the closer you get to the bottom of the ballot is the closer you get to some of those issues that affect you in your communities.
Well, in your opinion, how important is it for Georgians to stand up during this difficult time?
Oh, well, that's what we do. We stand up, right? So it is so important. One of the things that we have to remind people is that, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? And so when you show up, when you stand up, when you speak out and talk about these issues publicly, when you gather, when you rally, people pay attention. Elected officials pay attention. And then they ask the second question, well, what do you want and why are you here? sometimes that pressure is needed. And so we want to remind people that their voice is their vote, that they have to also advocate for the policies that they want. And they can't expect other people to do it for them if they're not willing to do it for themselves. So part of what we do at Georgia Stand Up is to try to gather people around issues and let them know that there's a rally, like there's a rally at the Capitol this weekend, that there's a rally that they should go to, that they should begin to not only speak their mind on social media, but sometimes your body is needed. We need you on the front lines. When we look at those the movement from the 60s and the civil rights movement, we see those folks marching and rallying and, you know, standing up for their rights and sitting at lunch counters. But we know that there were only a few people who actually did it all the time, and those are the activists. But even the activists need support. So we need the community behind us. If we're standing out in front for the community, we also need to make sure that the community is with us. So we work with and for communities. We're organizers, we're trainers, we mobilize, organize, strategize, mobilize, and we try to get the vote out to make sure that people have their rights.
What issues will Georgia Stand Up be focused on during the upcoming state elections?
Well, I'm so excited about this election because this is an opportunity. We know we have been suppressed. We know that SB 202 has taken away some of our rights to even give out water at a polling place. So we're going to have parties at the polls outside of the polling locations telling people where they can go and get their water or a chair or whatever they need while they're there. And then because we know that people have had problems getting a voter ID, we have published an orange book, and that's akin to the green book, where people can actually find out where they can get an ID in whatever county that they're in. And usually it's the registrar's office or the driver's license office. So on our website, we have that link so people can look it up, because we want to make sure that everybody has the tools that they need. We know people would not fight so hard against our vote and try to suppress our vote if it wasn't valuable. So we need to make sure that we show out and show up just like we did over these last two elections, because we don't want people to go back to sleep. We know that Georgia flipped this country, flipped the election, flipped this world, if you will, and elected a president and elected two senators, one Black and one Jewish. And we know that because of the work we did here in Georgia and groups like us, that we actually got a vice president that represents us. It's important for us to realize that all of us have a responsibility to not only control power, keep the power that we worked for, but also to work together to make sure that we don't lose what we just gained.
How can somebody work with Georgia Stand Up if they're interested?
Well, first of all, we are hiring. So we're hiring canvassers and phone bankers because we're knocking on doors. We've already knocked on over 30,000 doors this year. We've already called 500,000 people. We will continue to do that throughout the election season. We're hiring young people this summer to help us out in the community. We're passing out signs and door knockers. So what they can do is to come to our website, georgiastandup.org, or they can call us at 404-581-0061, or they can hit us up on social media, everything at Georgia Stand Up.